Roll call, please.
Supervisor Glabe,
Here.
Shant,
Here.
Patterson.
Here.
Trustee Glabe is excused. Lazier,
Here.
Katie here. McLennan,
Here.
you have a quorum.
Item 4 is approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve?
Support.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Shant,
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Lazier,
Yes.
Katie, yes. McLennan,
Yes.
Supervisor Glabe.
Yes. Okay. We'll open up the meeting to any brief public comments. Anybody wishing to come forward, please do at this time. Seeing none, we'll move forward. It brings us to item 10 under new business. And 10A is a request to hire a substitute senior bus driver. There's a request to hire Tammy Banis as an additional bus driver that's needed for drive the senior transportation bus.
I make that motion.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10B is a 2018 budget amendment to the police fund. Due to some purchases, it's necessary to make an amendment to the budget relating to the police finance. Motion be in order for this.
I make a motion.
Be moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Sir,
Any-
I'd call for a roll because it's a budget amendment.
Yes, certainly. Okay, roll call, please.
Patterson.
Yes.
Trustee Glabe, sorry, he's excused. Lazier,
Yes.
Katie, yes. McLennan, Supervisor Glabe,
Yes.
Shant.
Yes.
Item 10C is the request to purchase 2 Ford Explorer police vehicles. Chief Robbins?
Yes, sir. You should have in front of you a request for board action to purchase 2 Ford Explorer vehicles. This is all within our budgeted money, all within the police department money, there's no money from general fund. The total purchase amount is $64,518. These would be to replace 2 2014. Ready to push it?
Yeah, green light's on.
That would be,
My apologies. That would be to replace 2 2014 vehicles that were purchased when I first got here. Both of those vehicles are well over 100,000 miles and would be utilized here at Township Hall at the request of the clerk.
Motion to approve item 10C as presented.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Just a
All-
quick comment. The reason I asked for the vehicles instead of going to auction to come to the Township Hall is because there's been several occasions where a building inspector needed our only vehicle and an office lady or a permit inspection needed to happen and there was no vehicle for the person to take. So now we're paying mileage within the township. So I just figured it'd be beneficial, instead of sending them to auction and getting pennies on the dollar, we could utilize them for the staff here that needs to travel within the township to do their job.
Okay, very good. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the request to purchase Accent Patrol car video system.
Yes,
Chief
sir, as
Robbins?
presented, the patrol car video system is a system that will work hand in hand with our body cameras. Currently, the last purchase we did of in-car cameras was somewhere around 1997. We've tried to piecemeal those together and bring them together. We're down to 3 or 4 working cameras. It's starting to become an issue in our court process to where we're not able to record drunk driving cases or fleeing and eluding cases or cases that we need them for. I would request to pay this up front. Currently, we have the money within our budget, and that will be a cost savings of $26,012.55 versus paying that yearly. So I would ask as presented to make the purchase as recommended.
Motion to approve the purchase of Accent Patrol Car Video System.
Support.
Any discussion? Moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item E is request to, it says amend, I think it meant extend the school resource officer contract with the Huron School District. Chief Robbins.
Yes, sir. Currently, we have a school officer that employed in the Huron School District. It's been a great relationship for the last 2.5 years. Speaking to the new superintendent, we would like to extend that agreement for 3 more school years, and that would that would expire on June 30th of 2021. I believe the pricing is appropriate at this time, and as presented, I'd like to extend that contract.
Motion to approve item 10E as presented.
Support.
Any discussion? Moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 10F is the Great Lakes Water Authority Agreement. DPW Director Jeff Hinojosa.
Yes. Yes, requesting the approval of the agreement between Great Lakes Water and Huron Township. Our contract is up at the end of the year, and just looking for approval for the new contract.
Motion to approve item 10F as presented.
Support.
Moved and seconded. Under discussion, our Township Engineer, Jim Hollinsworth.
Yeah, the one thing I would like to add to that, just for the residents and business owners of Huron Township, the water rates are based, some of the water rates, or part of the water rates are based on peak hour usage as well as peak day. And that would be, so basically that's how they set the rates, how many gallons we use on a peak day or peak hour, or max day or peak hour. So there is a time frame from like midnight to 5 a.m. where they don't use that against the township, or don't use that as a way to adjust the rates. So I would encourage any businesses or residents that are using water for, especially for irrigation and that can use it between those hours. It'll help reduce the rates, the water rates for the township. So that'd be a real plus if residents and businesses could make sure their sprinkler systems are set between midnight and 6 a.m. So just wanted to put that on the record as well.
Thanks for that additional helpful thought.
Just a question for council. Would this be considered an intergovernmental agreement? Will we need a roll call for a resolution, or,
It is not an IGA, it's
Okay.
a strict contract,
so we can just do a majority vote?
we can.
Okay.
And with that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 10G is a DPW cold storage building proposal. Director Hinojosa.
Yes, also, and I'd like to request the approval to go out for bids for a cold storage building in our facility. I'm sure some of you are aware of our needs at our building. A lot of our equipment sits out year-round. This cold storage would do a lot to extend the life of some of our equipment, something we've needed for a while. Just hoping we can get that.
I'd like to make a motion to approve to go out for bid for the cold storage as presented.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Under discussion, Trustee Shant.
I have a concern with the expansion of the DPW as this township grows. I took a walk around the grounds there, and where this building is gonna be placed, there's hardly any access to make a large circle around Drive. Plus, it will interfere with backing in and out because of the building that's in front of it. I think that we should be planning on a long-term goal to put something like this in a different location, because after this is put in, the DPW is pretty much landlocked unless they take the Berlin Park, which we are all trying to improve. So I think in the long term, we should be looking at a different site to make our DPW department.
One, under the planning, and Jim and Jeff jump in when you might, but all the turning radiuses and the allowances have been taken into consideration in terms of the placement for the structure. So all that's been considered in the design, and there is adequate room to make the turns and to do the necessary movement in that area. As mentioned, this type of facility is really required. We have a lot of expensive equipment that has been stored outside for many years. This would bring a lot of that under roof, protected from the elements, and also the yard has just been kind of a catch-all where everything's just kind of left haphazard. This would give the equipment its home, if you will, again, out of the elements. As discussed, all the turning radiuses and the space allowances have been determined to be adequate. So I agree that that's a concern, but that has been taken into consideration under the design. Ray Parker from Hennessy has been instrumental in creating the design with the input of our DPW director. So Ray, if you wanted to address that, that's fine.
Also, we took the building from the initial location after we did a survey of the whole site, and we have moved it further to the west, so that it would not be within the turning radiuses, so it would be more of a straight shot. We took into consideration double wide gravel train coming through there, providing adequate turning radiuses all the way around, and not just for this building, but also for other additions and master planning for the whole site. So we looked at everything when we were doing this, as far as the gravel stockpiles and everything being on the south side. We just looked at, we wanted to make sure, and that was the most important thing, was getting those turning radiuses in there to make sure it was clean and clear. And then by adding the additional doors into the main DPW building for pull-throughs, it'll alleviate some of that extra, cramp that's kinda in that corner as it is. But based on the survey and everything, we have plenty of room to make everything work.
So train will go through there?
Yes, definitely. A double wide turn can get in there, so.
Yeah, thanks, Ray.
Mhm.
Any other discussion?
I still think in the future, as this township gets better and bigger and we grow as fast as we're starting to grow, our DPW is gonna start growing too, and we're gonna run out of space there.
Well, with these modifications and additions, this will carry us well into the future, and again, start to protect that very expensive equipment that we've been purchasing to do what's very necessary. So we've taken those future needs into consideration. This is actually planning for the future, and that's why this is so vital. So, okay, it's been.
For recycling building too.
We have additional rooms, sure. And we'll be, again, this is kind of, we do these in phases, and this is a good first phase, something that's been really necessary for a number of years, so. Okay, we got a motion on the table, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 10H, Election Commission.
Yes, sir. Under the state law, a charter township, being a charter township, the township clerk is required to present to the board a resolution to create an election commission. The commission has to be consisted of the clerk and 2 township trustees, title proper, to be appointed, and they're the ones who actually appoint the election inspectors. So because there was a change of occupancy in the office of clerk, I have to ask the township board to, in the form of a resolution, to reestablish this commission with myself being the clerk. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to appoint trustee McLennan and trustee Patterson to the election commission along with myself as the township clerk.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Lazier,
Yes.
Katie, yes. McLennan? Yes. Supervisor Glade?
Yes?
Shaw?
Yes.
Patterson? Yes.
Okay, under 10I, internship program. Mr. Patterson.
Yes, I'd like to start the intern program and talk to, Mr. Rowe from the high school. He's well aware of it, so many students with a computer background, summer employment, DPW, help out with our parks. They can make an application with the township, be paid minimum wage, work part-time up to 29 hours a week. If they wanna continue through the school year, Mr. Rowe said we could accommodations for that, where they get out at 1:30, work 1:30 till 4:30 with the township, so. I think it's a good program to start our youth in the township if they're interested in working.
Okay. So at this point, is this informational in nature
Well,
until we get
police
some
department heads
applicants?
wanna look into that or hire
Yeah.
some kids, get a hold of the clerk's office, and we've got 4 or 5 applications already that were submitted from the, council from the high school.
Yeah, I do think you are looking for a motion with support to create the program for further research.
Okay. So is it your motion, trustee Patterson?
Yes.
Okay, and that's your
I'll-
second?
Yeah, I'll support.
Okay.
Can we reduce that to 24 hours during school, when school's in session?
Okay,
That's
they
the
need a-
law.
Plus they need a work permit.
They will need the work permit from the school.
I have some discussion. So I also talked to the counselor from the high school, and because the school year is coming to an end, it'd have to be a paid internship at this point. However, when school restarts, the school is willing to sit down and talk to us about a co-op program, which would, if kids did come out during school hours, would actually give them credits towards high school, depending on the job functions that we offered them to do. So that's just something to keep in mind, that it don't always have to be a paid internship. We can work something out with the school to allow for credits towards graduation on this. So I think it's a good program. I could make use of some students in our office. Maybe we could actually start digitizing the records and making it a little easier to find stuff. There has been so far 4 students who have sent letters in saying that if this was to start, they would be interested in doing it. And the school counselor gave them all very good reviews and said that they would make great students over here.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll again open up the meeting to any brief public comments. Anybody wishing to come forward? Seeing none, we'll move forward. Chief Robbins, anything else to present this evening?
Yes, sir, very briefly, just want to give our departmental stats for the month of May 2018. The police department generated 270 calls for service, 252 reports generated, 25 accidents, 102 arrests, 4 larcenies from auto, and 4 B&Es. On the fire department side, we had 152 calls for service, with 131 of those being medical calls and 21 fire, with a response time of 8.03 minutes, which is down from the last 2 months. Huron Valley Ambulance had 114 calls for service for 11.22 minutes, which is also down almost a minute from last month. Our K-9 unit, just some statistical information very quickly, that he made 24 misdemeanor arrests, 5 felony arrests, for 34 total arrests, and he was our department leader for 2018. That would be Officer Hickman with his partner chief. Departmental forfeitures, we had 6,000 in cash, pending adjudication, and 1 vehicle forfeited. And lastly, I just want to congratulate our entire department. We were named as the Mothers Against Drunk Driving Outstanding Law Enforcement Agency of the Year for our efforts in 2017. We made 141 drunk driving arrests, over 20,000 stops, and 1,518 arrests. So we were recognized in front of over 400 other law enforcement professionals up in Mount Pleasant last week, and very proud day for our department, and I want to thank all of our officers for their efforts.
Very good.
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Anything else tonight, Jeff? No. Okay, thank you. Any comments from the Board of Trustees? Treasurer Liz here.
Yeah, just an update on all of our township parks. First of all, we have Berlin Park. The Rotary has installed the playscape, and they put the, I think DPW, or they did, put the timbers around with the mulch. Looks beautiful out there. Today, we are installing the remaining 5 pieces, and that park should just about be done. Moving on then to Lakos Park, we're just waiting for the approval of the county. They have to approve the money first, and then we will be going out for bid for our basketball court. And at Welts Park, we have moved to step 2 with the DNR grant, which is the site visit. They'll be coming out for a site visit. And also, to everyone out there, you will be receiving your summer tax bill the first week of July, and it will be on a yellow paper. That's it.
Okay.
Yep, just a couple things. Absentee ballot applications have went out for those that are on the permanent absentee ballot list. So make sure you fill that out, put your signature on it, and you can send it back. If you are not on the list and you need an absentee ballot, you can either come to the Township Hall. We have pre-printed applications you can fill out, or you can just submit a request in writing that you want an absentee and what the reasons are you need it, and just make sure it has a signature on it. We can accept that also. So the absentee ballots will probably be going out, I hope, at the beginning of July. It's kind of beyond our control. The county prints the ballots. So whenever the county gives us the ballots, they will be mailed out for the absentee voters, so you have time to make your decisions without being rushed.
Thank you.
Here's the senior Olympic application. Can you make sure our senior director gets some here at the township, so our residents, I've got 10 people that are gonna vote against Bean Glade this year.
You better get more than 10.
Will she be here for that meeting to
Yeah,
explain the program?
right.
A lot of people in the township think you gotta be a member of the Huron Township seniors. You just gotta be a Huron
Sure.
Township resident.
Yeah, we'll get Paulie to kind of give a little overview on that and do a little education. Sure.
You'll have competition this year.
Doesn't take much. So, any additional comments? I'd like to just give you a little brief update, some good news. I attended SEMCOG meeting this week, and it was the Regional Review Committee, and we were, in the past I mentioned this grant that we were seeking jointly with the City of Romulus, and we were successful in obtaining that grant. There'll be more information to pass on to you soon, but just to refresh your recollection, it's a $50,000 grant that'll allow us to prepare a kind of a formalized set of documents that outline the issue with regard to the train crossings being blocked and the remedies for that, and allow us to do some engineering work to come up with some better cost estimates and projections that we can share when we meet with our different representatives and when we apply for various grants. So this is a nice little stipend that only has a 20% match, so it's a good opportunity to take advantage of that, and it's kind of tailored to what our needs are. So that was kind of good news, and as I mentioned, I'll bring some of that information to you as it becomes forthcoming from SEMCOG. So with that, I'll,
How's HVA doing?
they're coming along on the renovations. Yeah, moving along.
Nothing new on the bridge?
Well, it's still on track, so there's no setbacks, so everything's still on target, so.
Speaking of that, there was an article, or someone had made a comment online about, they had called and stuff on the bridge and got numbers and things, so I ended up, and they were encouraging people to call, I think it was Wayne County Transportation. I think that's what it was. So I called, and so I got a ticket number. So I do have a number. They haven't called me back yet. But I'm registered with a number.
You've got that golden ticket.
I do.
You're like,
I believe
like Willy
there-
Wonka. Okay. You hang on to that, it's valuable.
Yeah,
All right.
I believe there was also some people saying to call the MDEQ,
yeah.
and I think a call was made there, and the MDEQ had no idea what we were talking
Ex-
about.
Yeah, I did call there first. I called the DEQ, and then they kept referring me to different departments, and I went through the whole line, and then finally, it was just the, Wayne County Transportation, so.
Okay, very good. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Have a good evening.